Welcome to Brevard News, your home for real news in Brevard County. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. We have a question today. Is Brevard County a swamp? Now, we talk about the fact that there's a swamp in Washington, D.C., but did you know there's one here in Brevard County? We'll show you over the next few weeks. We have guests with us today, our co-host, who's been with us all along, Katie Delaney, who is the County Commission candidate for District 1. And also with us today, our special guest, Patricia Weeks, who is running as a candidate in District 3 for the Cocoa City Council. Hey, Patricia, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
So happy to be here.
All right. So there's a lot to unpack in Brevard County, as always. Here we have an article come out in the Florida today, and Commissioner Stel, I said Skill, but Stel is crying foul, because people actually are at the county commission actually wanting to talk and have their rights not violated, but having their right to be able to speak before the county commission. And he makes some statements that people are trying, because they're talking, they're turning this into a sideshow. Have you seen that that's a sideshow? Are the people turning this into a sideshow? Let's go with you first, Patricia.
From what I have seen, it is not the people who are turning it into a sideshow. Unfortunately, it's the county commissioner.
And why do you say that?
Because I watched it.
Yeah. Well, you saw on our intro last. Well, even in the Florida Today, they showed some of that video, and Steele is unhinged.
Yeah.
And what he's projecting on other people, he's actually doing himself.
Yeah.
You've seen it up close and personal, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the reason why we keep talking about this is because it's such an egregious example of frankly, tyranny. It is downright tyranny at this point. I mean, personally for me, when I went and spoke, I did not have any kind of tone. I was not rude. I was simply stating why the citizens feel the way they feel and letting the commission know that they've broken the public trust and that they need to do something to fix that. And that is not me being rude. That is my right as a citizen going to them, telling my government that they need to be there to serve the public, not, rule over us with any kind of decree they give. And that's what they did with this tree situation. I've been talking about this so much because it wasn't about the trees. It was about the process.
Correct.
The process of the county manager, the staff, and the high-level staff, I will say, and the commission downright lying to the public on a recorded meeting multiple times and going around the will of the people and just doing what they please.
So do you think this is just subterfuge? And so, I mean, he's trying to project on people what the county commission is actually doing themselves. Exactly. The meeting that I attended, no one was out of order. People were coming up to the mic and they were not going over their time. They were actually under control. But what I've noticed is what Steele was not under control. Exactly. He's been the one that's not been under control most of the time as I've seen it, right? So there was an article in the Florida Today, and I wanted to pull this comment out by a Jacksonville-based Florida amendment attorney, Ed Burke. And notice what he said. He says, what's happening in Brevard parallels what is happening in other Florida counties and cities. Excuse me. Citizens want to be heard, Burke said. That's their right. Yeah. Well, how about that?
It is.
So isn't it okay for citizens to be heard? But I guess Mr. Steele doesn't think so. Burke said that even if a public speaker is critical of the government body or a particular government employee or talks about an issue that isn't part of what the government body has jurisdiction over, the safer course of action is to let the person go on for 3 minutes, which he did not. So you saw a couple of weeks ago, he cut the people off. He just continued to cut them off. He wouldn't let them speak. And to move on to the next speaker rather than halting the person's comment. Now, who's being rude?
Right.
He persistently interjects himself into the comments of the people.
And
now, go ahead.
The only one that was cussing or screaming was Commissioner Steele.
Correct. Correct. And some of the behavior, as I've seen, of Tobias, who demonstrated some behavior in a meeting that I was at, that tells me this guy has no place in any public office anywhere. Right. The contempt he has for people is unbelievable. Burke also doesn't believe the speaker should be restricted from indicating in passing that he or she is a candidate for elective office.
Right.
Well, who decides that? So they're going to decide that you can't say that?
Right.
That's what they tried to.
Well,
Yeah.
content, according to the Supreme Court, content, what you say in your content in a public meeting is pretty broad. The Supreme Court even ruled that I wouldn't do this, but some people, if you wanted to get up and curse, that's protected speech.
Right.
Yes, it is.
And so, if Mr. Steele, if you do not like this, why don't you resign? You obviously do not like dealing with people. No, Burke goes on and he says, as long as the comments don't turn into a campaign stump speech, which you weren't up there stumping for a campaign,
It's just
right?
announcing who I want.
Now, notice he goes on and he says, where Burke would draw the line, and I've not seen any of these things happen, and you guys tell me if you have, if someone is disrupting the meeting, have you seen that happen? And some of the people that he's thrown out, I mean, you look at them and they were very calm. They didn't leave. They weren't having to carry them out. If someone was throwing things. Have you seen that happen at the county commission?
Never.
Or threatening violence. Has that happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, Mr. Steele, what are you talking about? These things are not happening, and the things that you really see is that the county commission, the commissioners themselves are doing things that are really deplorable. And so there was a letter sent to the editor, and you wanted to speak on that.
So there was a Cocoa citizen. She actually is part of the creator of the group Brevard Cares Citizens Coalition, and she actually wrote a letter to the editor that basically gave a rundown of this whole situation. But not only that, she pointed out the fact that the Commissioner Steele directed the attorney to come up with a memorandum that is going to make it easier for him to remove citizens from meetings. And this is just outrageous. I mean, this is lawfare. This is
Right.
lawfare.
So what you see in Brevard County is this weaponization, and this would fall under that. And you see with the county commission, they want to use their power to squash the average citizen. And so they don't want you to come and speak. They just want you to shut up and be quiet and let them do whatever it is that they're doing. Am I wrong, Patricia? Tell me where we're off on this.
No, I agree. We definitely are in the wrong, especially Steele. And I wonder why the other county commissioners are not speaking up.
Right.
I was shocked that they just sat there and watched it happen.
Yeah, and you see this not only with the commissioners, but also with other politicians in this area. You see this going on. You see the rights of citizens being violated. Why are the other politicians not speaking up?
Silence is agreement.
I mean, we have state representatives who are not saying a word. Silence. They're watching the rights of the citizen be violated, and they're saying nothing. And if you don't say anything, then you are just as equally complicit. You are as equally complicit. And it's really amazing what's going on. And so then there was this memorandum. So they're trying to make it harder and really trying to intimidate the citizens from coming in and speaking. Are we living in a bizarro world? What is this?
Right. And the crazy thing, we gave some shade to the county manager, and some of the city managers. The county attorney makes $265,000 a year.
In Brevard County.
In Brevard County, in addition to his $510 that we know of, monthly vehicle stipend.
Wow.
So this is a highly paid person that the citizens are paying a lot of money to have this man.
So now he's crafting a memorandum against the citizens.
Right. And his predecessor only made $194,000.
Wow.
So what makes him so special that he deserves such a pay hike?
So what we have is basically a political class, and it's happened at the national level, and what people are shocked by is it's happening at a local level as well. You have a political class of people who believe that the people have no say in what's going on. Just shut up, be quiet, let us run over you, run roughshod over you, be quiet. You don't have any say in this, right?
Our way or the highway.
And these are the same people who are sitting there crying poor that we can't pay our firefighters, but
Right.
yet we can pay $265,000 for an attorney that's going to attack the citizens.
Pretty nicely as well.
Yeah, he's up to $276,000.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we go back to citizens actually being involved in running the government? Well, I'm sure that there's some great citizens out there with PhDs, doctor's degrees that can do better than some of what we're seeing here. Am I wrong?
No.
And so we just see some craziness going on. That brings us to Titusville, in which there's always craziness going on. And so that brings us to Stel Bailey. So Stel, we told you about her issue that she was the Titusville police several weeks ago went outside of the city limits of Titusville to Port St. John to basically harass Stel Bailey over a matter that she had nothing to do with. So what did they do when they heard us talk about it 2 weeks ago? They called the state's attorney. Now he's calling her twice over an issue that she has no standing in and no relationship to, this guy, Stan Johnston, who went out and whatever he did in Titusville, they're trying to connect her to that. Again, we're seeing lawfare, we're seeing the weaponization of government against its own people. Don't think about President Trump and what's going on with him. You better start looking right here in this local area. It's
Right.
happening right here.
Right.
Am I wrong?
Oh, it's happening, and you know, Stel Bailey, her organization that she's a part of, Fight for Zero, they're water advocate, clean water advocates, and they Stan Johnson has nothing to do with their organization, and the state's attorney was trying to steer a conversation linking him to her, like she directed it in some kind of way, and that is absolutely not the truth. And on top of that, it's not even clear that Stan Johnson ever even did anything wrong, because
Correct.
the Titusville Police Department won't show the video proof that they say that they have.
Oh, brother.
So, you know, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is government trying to harass and intimidate people who are getting involved, who are exposing corruption. And I've even had instances of this kind of stuff happening. And it's everywhere. And right now it's Stel, it's me, it's other advocates, but after us, they're going to come after everybody else. Anybody who has anything to say about the government, and if they're unhappy with how their government is behaving, we all have to watch out.
But you know what they're scared of is the fact is they really are not the government. Again, let's have a little history lesson here, our constitutional lesson. The people are the government.
Yes,
Right.
we are.
The politicians are the servants. Now imagine you going into your job, telling your boss, this is how it's going to be. Imagine you going into your boss, writing a memorandum telling your boss, this is how you're going to behave around me.
Or else.
Or else, off with your head. Get them out. Guards. Get 'em out. This is kind of where we're at. It's funny. We're laughing at it, but it's insane.
It
Right.
is. It is.
And this is where we're at with a lot of this. And so we have what is called the weaponization in Brevard County. We have a swamp in Brevard County. And as we continue to point it out to you, we have more to show to you over the course of time. And it's only you that are going to be able to stop it. You, the people. We, the people. As the people stand up, they're scared of you. They are scared of the fact that when you wake up, and many people are waking up, and we'll talk about that before the show is over, that's what they're scared of. We do have Patricia Weeks here, and so Patricia is running for this Cocoa City Council, and man, they need some people in the Cocoa City Council with some semblance of reason. From what I've seen, there's not many. And so you are married to your husband, and he was in the Coast Guard. You've been a realtor for 20 years.
Yes.
You've served on the Board of Adjustment for the last 5 years, and your councilman is not running, and you decided to throw your hat in the ring. Why?
Well, while serving on the Cocoa Board of Adjustment, which I'm now the vice chair of, I started to see a lot of the decisions that the city council was doing. And the councilman who was in the seat used to come to the Board of Adjustment because he chaired it when I first went on, and then he got himself elected to the city council. So he told me he was not going to run again a year out. And I said, well, then I think I may run for that seat because I didn't want to run against an incumbent. And then he wound up resigning early and leaving, and the council was going to appoint a person to replace. I put my name in the hat along with 4 other people, and then they chose the person who's now in the seat. Um, and but when that happened, I said, I'm running for that seat.
Now, we've actually been over in Cocoa and have seen some of the shenanigans that are going on over in Cocoa, and my God, I think Titusville is bad, but okay, I have to say Cocoa is worse. Show me where I'm wrong.
Well, there is a lot going on. There are some good things going on in Cocoa, but there are things going on that that are not good. And one of them being raising taxes twice in the last 3 years, which I am very much against. I am a low tax. I'm a fiscal conservative, and but my vision for Cocoa, another reason that I'm running, and my vision is, as a realtor for the last 20 years, every time somebody moved here and I worked with somebody who was moving to the area, they'd say, show me anywhere but Cocoa. And I would go, why? Well, it has a bad reputation. The crime, whatever, it just had a bad reputation, and nobody wanted to move to Cocoa. And I live in Cocoa. I love Cocoa. And I was not seeing what other people were. And I talked people into at least looking in Cocoa. But I would love to see us change that talking point. And part of the bad areas that Cocoa was getting blamed for are technically not in the city of Cocoa. They are in the county.
So those are unincorporated areas?
They're unincorporated areas right in the middle of Cocoa. Most of Clear Lake area is unincorporated. So you get a sheriff. You don't get a Cocoa police officer. District 3 that I'm running for, this is a picture of District 3, the pink. It goes all the way around. This stuff in the middle is not, it's right in the middle of District 3, and it's not part of the district.
Right.
So and when I looked up criminal stats, Port St. John had higher criminal stats, and it's not in the city of Cocoa. They have a Cocoa address, and many have Cocoa addresses, but they are not in the city of Cocoa.
So what can you do to make Cocoa better? So it seems like that there is, again, a hierarchy in Cocoa in which the city council and the mayor, their daddy, I guess he calls himself daddy,
Yes.
which is weird. Who calls himself daddy, but he does that. What would you do to change that dynamic in Cocoa?
Well, first off, I would be the odd man out, in a manner of speaking, on the council. It's a nonpartisan race, but everybody else is one, and I'm something different. But again, you represent everybody in the whole city and in my district as well. But what I would love to see us do is campaigns. We have the #1 football team in the state. There are so many good things about Cocoa. And I think if we did advertisements, if we did even commercials about all the good things in Cocoa, it will help change people's minds about Cocoa, and that we aren't this crime area and this bad place to live as it is now. That's just, when I tell people I live in Cocoa, both of my kids, all 6 of my grandkids, all live in Cocoa. I want to see Cocoa be the absolute best it can be. It has so much potential, and some of that is being realized. I would love to see us expand our tax base. My area, District 3, has the most industrial. And as a realtor, I do commercial and residential. I don't say that because some people have asked me, well, as a realtor, you just want a growth because you want to line your pocket. Well, you have to be either representing the buyer or the seller to earn any commission on a real estate transaction. I would be representing the city of Cocoa. I would have no skin in the game other than the benefit of the city of Cocoa.
You understand why they say that. I mean, there's been so many people who have run for office who are using office, and we have it happening in Titusville, to line their own pockets.
Yes, I can understand why, but that's why I wanted to clarify that there's no way I could make money if I'm not representing the buyer or the seller. I'm not getting any benefit from it. The citizens of Cocoa are, for anything new that comes in that expands our tax base. And who better than somebody who sells to sell Cocoa?
Transparency.
Transparency.
Do you think that there's
huge.
transparency in Cocoa?
No.
Yeah. Why?
But why? Because there's so many things that seem to go on behind the scenes. I mean, they come up at the council meetings, and I've been attending the council meetings. I was watching them online. I've been attending them in person, and things already that come up already seem to have the decision made before they even meet to vote. So when's the discussion happening?
So how would you change that to get the citizens more involved in what's going on? And would you respect the rights of the citizens to have that involvement?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I welcome the citizens to come not only speak to the commission, but come give me a call. My cell phone's out there everywhere. Now, I mean, not only as a realtor, but as running for office, call me. I answer my phone. You tell me what your problem is. You tell me what you see an issue that needs to be worked on. And if there's anything I can do, I will do it. If I can't, I will find the people that can do the answer. To me, knowledge is power, period.
So what would be your main platform? What do you think is the top of the list of what needs to happen in Cocoa that would make it? Is it the bringing in more businesses, or is it dealing with the structure of the council? What would you see the main?
I would love to see the structure of the council change, and there are the mayor and one other council person, and then District 3 are all up for election. District 1, District 3 are currently up for election. So obviously, the other two at this point are running unopposed. It would be nice if there was, opposition.
Are people discouraged from running? You think that
Yes.
they've given up?
I do think that, and
Especially against the mayor.
yes, mayor's
Right.
popular, and
Why is he popular? He turns his back to the audience.
Right. I don't know how much.
Why? How is he popular?
Because when he's out there in front of people, he has a personality. He's very
So he's a salesman,
he is,
and he knows how to sell himself.
He does, and he's a lifelong Cocoa person. I mean, everybody knows Blake, his dad before him, and now him. And
But I keep hearing that in Titusville. I'm voting for this guy because I've known him all my life, but they're stabbing you in your back. When does that come into play?
Yep.
Right.
Well, he will term limit out after this run, after another 4 years. Unfortunately, it's another 4 years. But because we're a nonpartisan race, people have until August to put their name in. So maybe somebody else will come along to run against him. It was not something I was interested in taking on at this point. I want to represent where I live, my district. And of course, you're representing all of Cocoa as well. It's not just my district. But mine has the largest landmass. I was trying to print out the entire thing to show, but District 3 has the largest landmass area. We have almost all the new construction that's going in. So we have the most potential. And again, as people move in to these new homes, I think that will help change Cocoa because they won't have known the old.
Right.
We're all creating new.
Right.
Yeah.
I think too when you talk about growth, you're not just talking about houses. You're talking about bringing industry, bringing business.
That's my big thing is industry. Right. Yep. Because like the Cocoa Conservation Area,
right?
That's 350 acres right in the middle of Cocoa that I wouldn't touch. It needs to be preserved. Right. It needs a way for people to park and go and enjoy those trails.
Right.
Because we don't have trail parks in Brevard County. But we have this gem that there's not a single sign on a single street that tells you this Cocoa Conservation Area is back there.
Right.
You have to go through a neighborhood to get to it. Mm-hmm. Well, the Dollar General that they just built on 524, there's that all backs up to the Cocoa Conservation Area. We could put in a parking area there and to go back to the trails. Now, I will say they are getting ready to put trail markers out, which is a step in the right direction. But trail markers, if you don't even know the trails are there, how in the world are you going to
or
find
a way to park?
So you want to have this be your Cocoa version of Central Park, right?
Version of Central Park. And so again, there are just so many things that could enhance. And then the birders and people who like to hike. Even you can ride bikes back there. There's a lake in the middle called Mud Lake.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, the tourists that come through, they go out and do the airboating and all that stuff. There are many people who would love to come and walk through there.
Right.
Okay, so one last question we want to ask you. So why should people vote for you? Why you versus your opponent?
I love cocoa. I'm invested in cocoa. My children, my grandchildren all live there. And I see a vision for cocoa that to make it the best it can be. I am vocal. I will not shut up and do what somebody else tells me I need to do. I vote my conscience, and I vote for the people and for the best of cocoa. I am transparent. Everybody who knows me knows that. I have so many people who have just come out of the woodwork. So everybody says, "Well, I'm so glad you're running. I'm so glad you're running." It's an honor that people put their trust in me, and it's also scary because people are putting their trust in me,
Right.
and I don't want to let them down. But I was president of Space Coast Association of Realtors in 2019 or 2021. I was district vice president. I've been through Florida Leadership Academy. I've been through Lead Brevard, a graduate of that in 2021 as well. And and I've been in Brevard County. I moved here in 1980. I love Brevard County, and I love cocoa. Cocoa's in the heart. Cocoa is the middle of the county, and there's just so much potential for the area. Good, you know, again, not just homes, but businesses. People want to be there, but we want to make them want to be there, because right now it doesn't have the best. It's changing, but it does not have the best reputation, unfortunately.
Okay, so you have a question.
One of the things that I'm really excited for this election for the city of Cocoa is I really would love to see some new voices on that council, because it needs to not just be, you know, the mayor's way and that's it. It's supposed to be a collaborative council that is working towards a better, you know, future and community for the city of Cocoa. And even though I'm not a Cocoa resident, I am surrounded by the city of Cocoa where I live. And so the decisions that the city of Cocoa makes directly affect my life. So as a just citizen, I am so I really hope that we get some diversity and voices on that council.
That's what we need.
And somebody with a spine.
Right.
Yes.
That's the thing that matters. Well, you can reach Patricia Weeks at patriciaweeks.com. 321-759-8563 is her phone number.
And
so
I really give it out, and I answer it.
All right. That brings us to our quote of the week. And this is from the former president of Peru in 1933 through 39. Now, notice what he says, and this comes from one of our producers. To my friends, everything. To my enemies, the law. And I wonder if that's happening not only in Washington, D.C., but right here in Brevard County. My 2 cents. All around America, people are waking up to the establishment politics. But you don't want, you know what, though? The funny thing about it is the politicians don't seem to see this. So something has changed in America. The people have awakened. No longer are people buying the empty rhetoric of the politicians. But they are they're going to be the last ones to find this out. You know what? This is evident in Brevard County. The politicians are running for office, or there are some politicians running for office who have a record of contempt for the people. One guy berated one of the citizens in Titusville, but he's running for office. He thinks that you've forgotten about it. He was against medical freedom. He thinks you've forgotten about it. It's just an amazing thing. They think that you have forgotten who they are and what they are, and that their money and their donors from the cabal that is running Brevard is going to save them. And so they believe that that's going to happen. It will be interesting to see their response when you, the people, reject them at the polls in August. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you for joining us this week on Brevard News. You have a wonderful, wonderful week. And be sure to like, share, and to subscribe to our podcast. We're under attack. I think we're being shadow banned. They're trying to stop us from getting out, and only you can help us move forward. Have a wonderful week.